The news tonight out of Brentwood, where two people were found dead at the home of award-winning actor and director Rob Reiner. Nick Reiner, the son of legendary director Rob Reiner, has been taken into custody and his name has appeared in an FBI interrogation record. This information immediately sent shockwaves through Hollywood, as it was released just hours after authorities sealed off the Reiner family's mansion in the Brentwood neighborhood. Director and actor Rob Reiner has confirmed to NBC News that Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found stabbed to death. Few could have imagined that a neighborhood known for its isolation and quiet would become the setting of such a chilling tragedy. Rob Reiner, an enduring icon of American cinema, and his life partner were discovered in circumstances serious enough for investigators to quickly rule out a natural passing. What began as a story marked by mourning and disbelief was soon reclassified as a criminal inquiry, as special investigative units and the FBI simultaneously became involved. So, what truly happened behind the closed doors of the Reiner family home? And why did Nick Reiner become the first name to fall under the scrutiny of federal investigators? On the afternoon of December 14, 2025, the usually quiet Brentwood neighborhood was suddenly sealed off after Romy Reiner contacted the police when she was unable to reach her parents. When authorities arrived, Rob Reiner and his wife were confirmed to have passed away at home, with circumstances serious enough to rule out a natural cause. The scene showed no signs of forced entry or disruption, immediately making the direction of the investigation highly sensitive. The case was quickly transferred to the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division, with the FBI also joining the inquiry. And at that very moment, a piece of information began to leak out, making an already heavy atmosphere even more suffocating. Nick Reiner, the son of Rob Reiner, was being directly questioned by the FBI. According to ABC News and CNN, on the evening of December 14th, just a few hours after the Brentwood scene was sealed off, Nick Reiner was asked by authorities to come to an LAPD facility to assist with the investigation. This meeting took place as investigators were urgently reconstructing the final timeline of Rob Reiner and his wife, including meetings, phone calls, and movements within the 24 or 48 hours before they were discovered. According to law enforcement sources cited by the Los Angeles Times, Nick was questioned in detail about his personal schedule on December 13th and 14th, when he was present in the Brentwood area, his last contact with his parents, and the recent relationships among family members. The questioning lasted for several consecutive hours and focused mainly on cross-checking his statements with phone data, security camera footage, and timeline markers being collected by police. The entire process was conducted discreetly, with no public escort, no images of handcuffs, and no announcement of an arrest from authorities. In brief statements to the press later that night, LAPD representatives repeatedly emphasized that Nick Reiner was not considered a suspect at that time. One senior investigator told the Los Angeles Times that speaking with Nick was simply part of standard procedure in complex, family-related cases, aimed at helping authorities build a comprehensive picture of what occurred before the incident was discovered. The official also stated clearly that there was no arrest warrant, no one had been detained, and that information circulating on social media claiming Nick has been officially arrested was inaccurate. While police attempted to keep information tightly controlled, the Reiner family chose complete silence. According to Variety, the family's representative released only a brief statement expressing deep grief over the immense loss and declined to comment on Nick's cooperation with investigators. There were no further remarks, no additional statements, and no family members appeared before the media. This silence, according to many Hollywood journalists, inadvertently caused public attention to focus even more intensely on Nick, who had already become the most mentioned name since the case was classified as a criminal inquiry. At the same time, reporters began converging on the Brentwood neighborhood, searching for everyday details that might help piece together the period before the tragedy. Some neighbors living near the Reiner estate told KTLA-TV that they had seen Nick around his parents' home in the days prior, something not considered unusual in a family that maintained frequent contact. However, there were also whispers of having heard tense exchanges coming from inside the house in the evenings, though no one could confirm the content or severity of those conversations. These scattered details quickly spread across forums and social media, where they were further embellished by speculation and emotion. In a short time, they created a sense that signs of instability may have existed before the tragedy occurred, even though no such information had been officially confirmed by investigators. As a result, less than 24 hours after the news broke, Nick Reiner's image began to be viewed through a completely different lens. From a low-profile son, he became a figure scrutinized in minute detail, from his schedule and family relationships to statements he had made in the past. We did get into fights over things, but ultimately it forced us to make the film better. We get into issues, and I would see. And from this chain of details, a question increasingly took shape in public discourse. Why did suspicion so quickly converge on Nick Reiner? According to people who were familiar with the family, the relationship between Nick and his father, Rob Reiner, was not tense only in adulthood. As early as Nick's high school years, in his early teens, disagreements reportedly emerged over family discipline, personal autonomy, and the use of money. A source told people that Rob Reiner was a highly principled father, accustomed to closely controlling matters within the family, while Nick showed a strong personality early on and reacted sharply whenever he felt imposed upon. These differences, according to someone who had frequently visited the Reiner home, often escalated into loud arguments, especially during the period when Nick was between 18 and his early 20s, as his desire for independence directly clashed with the family's strict management style. The atmosphere at home became noticeably more strained. A neighbor living near the Brentwood estate told KTLA-TV that on some evenings they could hear prolonged arguments, and at times even the sound of objects being shoved or knocked, enough to draw attention in an otherwise quiet neighborhood, though no one called the police or intervened. Over time, these conflicts did not disappear, but instead became simmering tensions. Nick had periods when he distanced himself from the family and later returned, while Rob Reiner was said to consistently try to maintain an image of family stability in the public eye. This contrast between a calm outward appearance and tension behind closed doors led the public to question whether these conflicts had ever truly been resolved or merely suppressed over the years. However, the factor that caused suspicion to focus on Nick most quickly and intensely came from financial motives. Rob Reiner was not only a renowned director, but also one of Hollywood's most financially significant figures. According to estimates by Forbes and publicly available financial records, his total assets were believed to be in the hundreds of millions of US dollars, including the Brentwood mansion, other real estate holdings, stakes in production companies, and long-term income from the rights to classic films. Rob Reiner had 4 children, but according to Variety and Entertainment Weekly, he had never publicly disclosed the existence of a will or a clear plan for asset distribution. In families with such substantial wealth, this ambiguity is often a source of prolonged tension. A celebrity family analyst once said on MSNBC that simply not knowing one's future financial position can create significant psychological pressure, especially for those who feel their place within the family is not entirely secure. When Nick is viewed within this context, the contrast becomes more pronounced. His siblings were generally seen as more stable, less controversial, and with relatively clear career paths. Nick, on the other hand, was often perceived as being on the margins of the family structure, both in terms of relationships and long-term interests. A family acquaintance said there had been tense discussions related to financial support